This week, I want to shine a little light on a beer style that refuses to stay tucked away in the dark, the Black IPA. Depending on who you ask, it's a Cascadian dark ale or simply a delicious contradiction. Whatever you want to call it, the Black IPA has one of the more interesting roller coaster histories in modern craft beer. All that and much more on this week's Beer in Front. This is Beer in Front, part of the Beer Media Group. Every week I'll talk to people in and around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to episode 282 of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a charter member of the Beer Media Group. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was good. We kind of just had a low-key day here with Ruby and I and Moira. So, yeah, very low-key here. So I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. On the show this week, I'm going to talk about Black IPAs. The Black IPA is the McRib of beer. It came, it conquered, and then it vanished like nothing. Now more and more breweries seem to be putting them out every year or two to kind of remind us of what was. So I'm going to have a few today. I'm going to have Wookie Jack from Firestone Walker. I'm also going to have a local one from Midwest Coast. And I'm recording this early, so I might have one more in store if I'm able to get my hands on it between now and the release date. So 2 reviews for sure, possibly 3. All that's coming up. I was kind of surprised. As many of you know, I work for an airline and I work at O'Hare. Thanksgiving week it was busy, but it wasn't like years past. Everyone kind of spreads out their travel throughout the week instead of just all going on the day before Thanksgiving. So it wasn't that bad. But some of you knuckleheads, you need to travel better. Now, I'm standing at my position. This woman comes up, open carrying. She just drinking a big-ass Voodoo Ranger, Imperial, 11%, whatever this one was. Now, she had to come local because you can't bring that thing through TSA. So she's standing there open carrying this big Voodoo Ranger, comes up to me, and is asking me where the Indian restaurant is in this terminal. Miss, there's no Indian restaurant in this terminal. I think you're wrong. I've worked here for 40 years. Trust me, there's no Indian restaurant in this terminal. Well, can you find someone else to ask? Honey, why don't you put down the Voodoo Ranger and go elsewhere? There's no Indian restaurant here. And then she looks at me like I'm a clown. Honey, I drink for a living. I know what I'm talking about. You're having a Voodoo Ranger. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I don't begrudge anyone for drinking that early. But if you've had one Voodoo Ranger, you've probably had 2, and you're already intoxicated. So when you're traveling, folks, keep the Voodoo Rangers aside. Maybe start with a Session IPA or something like that so you're not belligerent at O'Hare. In beer and beverage news, there wasn't really a lot of big news with the holiday and all, but I did notice something over on social media from a brewery in Texas called New Magnolia Brewing, and they had a post that they were not sorry, and this was a post to craft beer drinkers in the state of Texas. Now, it appears that the grocery store chain HEB, they removed a lot of craft beer from like local Texas breweries from their shelves. According to this post from New Magnolia, it said it wasn't their call, that HEB chose to cut many of these brands because the margins didn't hit their target. So according to them, the translation was the beer is good, people were buying it, but it wasn't profitable enough for HEB, and they want more macro beer, and they're supposed to, make more per sale of the macro beer than these Texas craft beer companies. And, New Magnolia said they're not going to, cheapen their product to help somebody else's margin. So I just thought that was interesting. But if you're a craft beer fan in Texas, you might want to go somewhere else besides HEB. Now, I don't know if this is all over or if this is just something in Florida, but Highlight IPA from Cigar City, iconic IPA. In some, I don't know if this was like a Home Depot or a Costco, but they sell it in like buckets, like you would normally see. Like here in Chicago, we got the bucket boys that play these big buckets. If you're a home brewer, you probably had these 5-gallon buckets. Well, these 5-gallon bucket cases hold 24 cans of beer. So they sell the beer in this bucket for $34.96. So $35 a case, but I think it's pretty cool. It's a cool packaging idea and it definitely gets your attention. So if you're in the Florida area, grab yourself a bucket of High Life. Was reading over on the Brewers Association website that part of the funding bill when the government reopened last week, that included support for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and there's supposed to be some help towards the barley community and users of barley, including brewers and ultimately people like us that drink the beer. So that's cool. There's more money towards, I'm not sure what this is because it's called SCAB, but the U.S. Wheat and Barley Scab Initiative. I don't know what that is, but being a labor person, I don't like the word scab, but if it helps brewers, I'll let it go. There's another $250,000 for the Barley Pest Initiative and an additional $1 million in funding to establish a new resilient barley initiative. So whatever you want to think about the package that reopened the government, some of this money is going to help the growers of barley. Great Lakes is going to come out with a new orange and lime shandy. This is going to be 4%. I'm guessing this is going to come out closer to the summer, but sounds good. I like everything that Great Lakes puts out. So if you're in the Cleveland area, be on the lookout next year for the orange and lime shandy. I'd like to personally thank everyone that supports the show on Patreon or other formats. That means a lot. If you'd like to help support the show, head over to patreon.com/beerinfront for more information. If you also need to reach out and have any show or beer suggestions, please email me, dave@beerinfront.com. A black IPA is pretty much an IPA that went through its goth punk rock period and never grew out of it. You get all the big hop aroma, the citrus, the pine. It's very West Coast IPA in spirit, but behind it, there's this chocolate, roasty, coffee-like notes that you get from the dark malts. The trick is balance. You don't want it to be a porter or a stout. It's still an IPA. It just happens to be dressed like it's going to a Social Distortion show. The origin story now. Like a lot of craft beer styles, more than one brewer claims credit for it. A lot of people point to the Pacific Northwest and brewers in Oregon and Washington who started playing with this in the late 90s, early 2000s. They called it Cascadian Dark Ale because of the Cascade hops and the Cascade Mountain regions. Others on the East Coast claim that Greg Noonan out of Vermont brewed something very similar years earlier at Vermont Pub and Brewery. So who invented it? Who cares? It's a great style. The Black IPA really, it had its moment in the early to mid 2010s. Everywhere you turned, there was another dark, hoppy ale on tap, and they were great. Breweries across the country were jumping in. Stone had their Self-Righteous. 21st Amendment had Back in Black. Lagunitas had Nighttime. There were so many different versions of them that were out there, and they were really good. Locally, You had, they're not really Chicago area based, but close enough. I remember Sawyer, Michigan. They had a brewery there. They still have a brewery there called Greenbush. And when they distributed here in Chicago, they had a black IPA called Anger. That was one of my favorites. And I wish they would still distribute here, but they don't. But Anger was really good. Some local breweries also did it. Everyone was jumping on the black IPA train. But then it went away. Tastes shifted, tastes evolved. Hazies took over. And, they came around probably about 8 to 9 years ago. And then the black IPA just became one of those. Oh, remember those? The funny thing about beer trends is nothing really ever goes away. Over the last couple of years, it's crept back into the spotlight. I'm going to have the one today from Firestone Walker, their Wookie Jack. That comes out now on a yearly basis. Other breweries are bringing it back maybe once a year, every couple years. So that's cool if you like the style. It really, when you find a good one, it's a thing of beauty. Your senses don't know if it's summer, if it's autumn, but they're happy either way. You get the best of both worlds. You get the dark malts and you get the big aggressive hops. If you see one, especially from a brewery that's known for their hoppy beers, give it a shot. There's a reason why this style refuses to stay buried. All right, the beer that's in front of me now is a black IPA from Firestone Walker. This is Wookie Jack. This is a great beer. I haven't had it yet this year, but it's a classic black IPA. They use rye in this. It's outstanding. If you like black IPAs, this is probably the gold standard. So I'm going to keep talking about it a little later, but I'm kind of jonesing for it now. So let's crack open the Wookie Jack Black Rye IPA from Firestone Walker. Beautiful color on this. Nice. It's not jet black like a porter or a stout, but it has some like ruby red tints to it. Good foam here. Think a nice pair of khaki pants, good 3 fingers of foam. Smells phenomenal. You get all those citrus, you get the pine notes to this. It's just a terrific, terrific smelling beer. Like, you get some of the malt out of it as well. So just a great smelling beer. That's phenomenal. Absolutely killer. You get all of the malt notes. You get that chocolate. You get the coffee notes to that. And then the hops hit you. They use Amarillo, Citra, and Simcoe. So you've got a good variety of pine, citrus. It's got some dankness to it. Just a well-rounded beer. Hop selection is great. The malt is great. Little spiciness that comes with the rye. It's a phenomenal beer. Yeah, it goes down easy. Just like I said, I can't talk enough about this. Just a solid beer. This is 8.3% alcohol, 70 IBUs, which you don't see a lot anymore. Something that high in IBUs. It's a 3-time gold medal winner at the Great American Beer Festival. It's just a classic beer. They're bringing it out every year now. So this is going to be a seasonal beer that you can get in late autumn, early winter. You could pick it up wherever you get anything from Firestone Walker. So if you're in their distribution footprint, you could definitely grab it. They first started brewing this in 2012. Then, like I mentioned in the intro, hazies came along and the black IPA fad went away, but they brought it back, I think a year or two ago, and now it's back in regular rotation as a seasonal beer. So if you're a fan of black IPAs, you got to pick up Wookie Jack from Firestone Walker. Just a great beer. Let me have one more sip. It's that good. Phenomenal. If you see it, put it in the cart. You can get them in 6-packs. I don't know if it's available in 12 packs, but I know you could definitely get it in a 6-pack, or if you're close to them in California, you can get it on draft. I mean, I would love to have this on draft, but if you see Wookie Jack, you know what to do. Put it in the cart. All right, the local Black IPA from Illinois I'm going to have is from Midwest Coast. They're right here in the city of Chicago. This is Sunday Parlay Black IPA. Just says on here, done right. Well, I got to believe them. I like the stuff from Midwest Coast. This checks in at 6.5% alcohol. I've never had this one, so let's crack open Sunday Parlay Black IPA from Midwest Coast. Well, Sunday Parlay pours nice, good color, good. 2 fingers of foam on here. Yeah, good aroma. I get the definite hop notes. I also get a lot of the roasted malt with this, so it's a good aroma that I'm getting from this. Really good. A lot of bitterness on this. Like, I think it's definitely has that West Coast IPA bitterness feel to it, a lot of bitterness on the back. At first, it kind of overtakes the malt. So let me have another sip on this. The malt is definitely there. I mean, I like this. I would drink it again. I think the balance needs to be a little bit more towards the malt. I mean, I'm never going to say anything bad about hops, but for a good black IPA, I think both the malt and the hops are equal partners, where this one is more hop forward. Like I said, it's not a bad beer. It's delicious. I like it. It just feels more, it has that more of a old school West Coast vibe for me. So definitely pick it up. I mean, Midwest Coast puts out some great, great stuff. I'm a huge fan of them. But if you see this Sunday Parlay Black IPA, definitely put it in the cart, but just be warned, if you're looking for something with more malt characteristics, this might not be your thing, but I still think it's a great beer. All right, the local one that I'm going to have right now is from Half Acre. This is Cauliflower Black IPA. It was just released this week. 7% alcohol. They use HBC 522, Comet, and El Dorado hops. I brushed the snow off and made it out through the snowpocalypse, and I just walked in the door. I'm going to have this now. The person at the front desk who's checking me out, not checking me out, but checking me out at Half Acre, said she has her release notes here. So this is what they say about this beer. It's based off the pilot brew they released earlier this year called Casting a Shadow. They made some changes to the hop profile, and here this one is. They use a midnight wheat malt, which is designed to add color without imparting too much astringent roasty flavor. They also use a Cara rye for additional malt depth with a rye spice twist. So I'm looking forward to this. Half Acre always puts out a phenomenal IPA, so let's crack open Cauliflower. All right, it looks really good. I'm digging the color here. Nice foam. Wonderful aroma. You get all the hop notes from the aroma. I don't get any of the malt. So just for me, the aroma just hits me with hops. That's good. I like it. Definitely get the dark malt. You get the hops. There's nice bitterness on that. It's pretty well balanced. I think it might lean a little more to the hoppy bitter side than the malt side, but overall, I think it's well balanced. That's good. No, I am digging this one a lot. Good flavor on this. You do definitely get the darker malts out of this. Good hop bitterness at the end. I don't know what the IBUs on this are. See, with everything being a hazy, you forget about IBUs. What's the IBUs on this? It does not say, but you definitely notice it. I think this is good. So if you're in the Chicago area, I think it's going to be out for distribution this week. So you could check that out if you're around Chicago or wherever Half Acre distributes. I picked this up there at the tap room itself. I think it's a good beer. Let me grab one more sip of this bad boy. No, I'm digging it. If you see it, you know what to do. Put it in the cart. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this dark black IPA edition of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. If you need to get a hold of me, please feel free to email me, dave@beerinfront.com. Have a great week, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.